Time slows down when bullets fly. When Jesse James and the infamous James Younger gang attempt a small-town heist in Minnesota.
We intend to rob this here bank.
Time becomes the enemy. But it's nothing compared to the locals, who fight back.
For God's sake, they're shooting us to pieces!
In a shootout that could blast the gang to pieces forever.
Oh, I hear them sing, the angels who carry me home.
On the morning of September 7th, 1876, the James Younger gang arrogantly rides into the town of Northfield, Minnesota. They've been led there by the outlaw, Jesse James.
In the years after the Civil War, a wide array of outlaws arise, but one name really resonates with the American public. It's Jesse James. The James Younger gang was one of the most successful criminal enterprises in all of American history.
The gang is made up of two bands of brothers. Joining Jesse is his older brother, Frank, along with Cole Younger and his brother, Bob.
The James and Younger brothers are joined by three men: Clell Miller, Bill Chadwell, and Charlie Pitts.
Hollywood loves the story of the outlaw. In American culture, it has always been an attractive character. Jesse James has been seen in more than a dozen Hollywood films, from the likes of Chris Christopherson to Brad Pitt. The reality is, these characters were not heroes.
These men are Confederate veterans, but they're from a very special group of Confederate veterans known as bushwhackers.
Bushwhackers were as much a terrorist cell as they were a company of Confederate soldiers. Operating on the South's bloody western frontier, they were known to scalp their victims and keep severed ears as souvenirs.
They say they're still fighting the Civil War. And it's one of the reasons that he decides to go north, up in Minnesota to Northfield.
It's Union country, and a decorated Union general has recently moved to Northfield. Adelbert Ames was appointed the Yankee governor of Mississippi during the Reconstruction, a particular target for Jesse.
To go into the country of the Yankees themselves and make them pay. It's a fat, ripe bank, and they're ready to pluck it.
And if any trouble was to occur, Cole and Clell were to fire one shot in the air to signal Jesse and Bill. It was also decided that no citizen was to be killed, no matter what.
The plan, as much of a plan as there was that we can actually reconstruct, is to get the money out, then to cut the telegraph lines so word doesn't leak and the gang can ride safely back to Missouri.
May I help you, gentlemen?
If you holler, we'll blow your damn head off.
This is often all it takes. The gang expects bank tellers to just become shrinking violets in the face of brute force.
You the cashier?
No, sir.
Yeah, you are today. Now, would you be so kind as to open that safe for me?
The gang figures there's a kit and caboodle of northern money ripe for the taking, when in fact, the Northfield Bank is the classic definition of a local bank supporting the local community.
You got 1 minute to live. You better open that safe. You know what's good for you.
While Jesse protects the getaway, the townspeople on the street begin to grow suspicious, including local businessman Anselm Manning and 22-year-old Henry Wheeler.
Henry Wheeler happens to be outside his father's drugstore when he observes what he considers to be rather suspicious activity. There are a number of men, strangers to the town. It's what seems like an organized group of men. And this starts to raise the hackles on the back of his neck.
The James Younger gang knew that Northfield was a Union town, but what they didn't know was that it was a Union stronghold, full of battle-tested veterans from the Civil War.
J.S. Allen, the local hardware store owner in particular, is worried about them. Wonders what they're up to. And of course, he's a businessman. He has money in that bank. He's worried. This is odd.
For Allen and Wheeler, this is too much. So they investigate, each getting close enough to the bank to witness evidence of the holdup happening inside. Wheeler slips away to track down a weapon, remembering they keep a rifle at the local hotel.
Allen runs back, he sounds the alarm, he goes right to his store. People gather there, begins passing out weapons. It's hunting season anyway, and so there are lots of guns in town.
Anselm Manning joins the action, posting up on the corner of the Scriver building down the block, while Wheeler seeks higher ground at the hotel across the street, both with clear lines of fire at the gang in front of the bank. Wheeler carries a Smith carbine .50 caliber left over from the Civil War, and Manning is armed with a Remington rolling block, a rifle often known for hunting buffalo on the plains. One of the first to seize this moment is a farmer named Elias Stacy, who grabs a shotgun and rushes toward the bank.
Well, I see my chance to strike. So I do.
But Stacy has mistakenly loaded the shotgun with birdshot. Clell Miller is wounded, but able to return fire. Henry Wheeler takes advantage of his hidden position at the hotel. And lays Clell down with one shot. Without hesitation, Jesse jumps into action.
And so now more and more citizens are coming. The whole town is alive with gunfire. It's a battlefield.
Jesse joins Bill Chadwell and Cole Younger in front of the bank, where they find Clell Miller dead in the street.
Wheeler's kill shot is the first in the crossfire on the gang. Manning is next when he positions up on the corner, and then Bill Chadwell crosses his sights.
Manning fires diagonally across Division Street and hits Bill Chadwell in the chest.
Jesse immediately began firing his pistol, trying to provide cover for his compatriots inside the bank.
There, witnessing Jesse's rage and Bill Chadwell's death, is Ermina Kingman, who watched Chadwell take his last breaths.
I see him reel, and he comes as far as my door, where he dies after a short period of intense suffering.
Meanwhile, for Frank, Charlie, and Bob, the heist is at a standstill.
What's going on out there, Bob?
I don't know, Frank.
For God's sake, come out! They're shooting us to pieces!
Well, go on, Bob, get it!
Bob Younger comes roaring out of the bank and goes after Manning. Wheeler fires a shot that hits Bob in the right elbow, disarticulating the joint and shattering the bones.
It's not a kill shot, but it causes his shooting arm to fall limp.
Like the crack of heavenly thunder. I hear the shot. From somewhere across the street, Wheeler saves my life.
This incredible shootout is going on outside, but inside, the bank teller is causing even more damage to the gang.
You got 1 minute to live. Open the safe.
The gang is accustomed to getting in and out of a bank before there's time for a shootout. But Northfield is turning out to be unlike anything the gang has ever experienced before. Instead of a quick and quiet robbery, the James Younger gang is caught in an infamous shootout in the streets of Northfield, Minnesota. Inside the bank is Jesse's brother, Frank.
If you holler, we'll blow your damn head off. Now would you be so kind as to open that safe for me?
He expects the teller to turn over the equivalent of $260,000 in today's money. But to Frank's surprise, it's not happening.
Generally, in popular accounts of this period, it's always the outlaws who are the heroes. But in fact, the real hero of the day is a bank teller by the name of Joseph Lee Haywood.
Open that there safe.
It is a time lock. It cannot be opened now.
Time locks are a relatively new invention in this period, and they're designed to prevent the practice known as bulldozing, where a bank employee is simply kidnapped from his home, taken to the bank, and forced at gunpoint to open up a safe. With a time lock, that can't happen.
Son, if you know what's good for you, gonna open that safe.
Outside on Division Street, Jesse James and the Younger brothers tried to scare off the locals. Bill Chadwell and Clell Miller lie dead in the street.
If you want to live, get out of the street!
This sort of strategy of the performance, the persona of the outlaw, earned them a place in Hollywood history. And their celebrity, sort of savage criminality, it really didn't work in Minnesota.
As Jesse charges up the street, he walks right into a potential crossfire. On his left is Anselm Manning, whose Remington already brought down Bill Chadwell. And on Jesse's right is Henry Wheeler, taking aim from his sniper's perch at the local hotel.
All Wheeler wants is to get Jesse in his sights and get one clean shot off.
In every shootout, a difference in firepower plays a drastic role.
Wheeler has the .50 cal Smith carbine left over from the Civil War, and Manning has the Remington rolling block.
To test whether Jesse's Colt is enough of a man-stopper versus one of these high-powered rifles, we're heading to the gun range with two-time national shooting champion, Tori Nonaka.
In this test, we compare the damage of a 6-shooter and a .50 cal Smith carbine like Wheeler has.
Jesse James mastered the Colt revolver while riding with the Confederate bushwhackers. It has the advantage of being able to fire multiple rounds.
We fired a 6-shooter, and the impact was relatively small. And then we followed it up with the .50 cal Smith carbine.
It's clear that it's game over for anyone who's hit by one of these rifles, giving the townspeople of Northfield a huge advantage. But Jesse is an ex-bushwhacker and has been in plenty of tight situations before.
Henry Wheeler has got Jesse dead in his sights. But as he attempts to reload his rifle, he drops the cartridge.
Jesse keeps advancing on Manning despite having no cover. But Manning can't return fire because his Remington jams. Jesse's narrow escape marks the only glimmer of fortune the gang has seen in Northfield so far. Back in the bank, Charlie Pitts has heard enough about the time lock. Like the James brothers, he's an ex-Confederate guerrilla who makes Haywood the target of his still smoldering rage against the North.
The situation turns ugly in a heartbeat, and when it turns ugly, it gets really ugly.
Listen, Jim, you open that damn door, I'm gonna cut you from ear to ear. Charlie, come on. Get the box, son. Where's your money? What kind of bank y'all got here?
All Frank and Charlie can find is a small amount of petty cash.
Frank is fairly familiar with banking practices. He knows there has to be a way to access cash within the vault. He does everything he can except walk over and pull open the vault.
Frank James may be an expert bank robber.
Where's the rest of the money?
But this time, his anti-Yankee rage gets in his way. And taking his eyes off the prize is the worst business decision he'll ever make. It's 10 minutes into the James Younger Gang's raid on the First National Bank in Northfield, Minnesota, and everything has gone wrong.
If you want to live, get out of the street!
Inside the bank, Frank James and Charlie Pitts believe there is at least 15 grand, about $250,000 in today's dollars.
It isn't a question now of getting $15,000. It's a question of getting out alive. All of the anger of the outlaws is fixated on the bank teller.
Where's the rest of the money? It's in the safe, and it can't be opened now.
Finally, at their wits' end, Frank James just turns in a point-blank range.
Let's go!
There's no point to the killing of Haywood, because there is cash. Time lock wasn't set. The vault, in fact, was open. If Frank had only walked over there and pulled on the lever, the door would have come right open, and they would have found that indeed the bank was just as rich as they thought it was.
The brutal miscalculation of murdering Haywood cost the gang upwards of $17,000.
They rush out of the bank. Everything has just gone to hell.
It's pandemonium in the streets. But what happens next will reveal the true nature of this criminal gang.
Cole Younger takes a slug in the side and is the first to evacuate. He's had enough. All he can think about is getting out alive. But walking between Cole and his getaway is an unarmed bystander in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The brutality of that killing creates a bit of a distraction, and the gang is able to make it out of Northfield.
The gang rides out of town, leaving a pile of dead bodies and taking with them much less than they'd hoped.
$26. That's $450 in today's currency. Now think about what it actually cost the James Younger gang to earn that $26.
In a rush to make it out of Northfield alive, the gang takes an alternate route and never cuts the town's telegraph wire.
And so now, very quickly, the news of what's going on in Northfield is going to be spread throughout Minnesota and the neighboring states.
The state of Minnesota mounts the largest manhunt in U.S. history and pursues the James Younger gang. 80 miles from Northfield, in Medelia, Minnesota, Charlie Pitts is killed by the posse, and the Younger brothers are captured and sent to prison. The James brothers elude the posse, but this is the only thing that goes right in Minnesota. Still, the legend of the James brothers lives on. In fact, the bungled shootout becomes known as the Great Northfield Raid, even though it's a staggering failure and marks the beginning of the end for Jesse.
In many ways, the Northfield, Minnesota raid is Jesse James's Waterloo. The gang exposes itself for ineptitude.
Farewell, my love, we'll be together soon.
They leave a ton of money lying in that bank. Their brutal methods are exposed with their murder of Joseph Lee Haywood and Nicholas Gustafson. It forever strips away any honor or heroism that has formerly been associated with Jesse James.
The angels are calling me back home.
To know the truth about a revered gunfighter, look to the gunfight, not the man. Frank and Jesse James showed their true selves in the blazing gunfire at Northfield, because nothing separates myth from reality faster than a bullet.
They're calling me back home.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.